White. Ginger. A little bit of...
Yeah. So before we get... So this is the after show where we're talking about all kinds of RPGs and stuff. Because those two don't care.
RPG.
So
Oh,
before
wrong
we
game. Sorry.
get into our review of our book this week, which is Unmasked, I wanted to talk about Star Trek because we did our character creation last week.
Yep.
For the Dirt, which you'll see next Tuesday.
That's right.
And so we made our characters, which I gotta say I like the character creation setup. It makes it very easy to develop a backstory. However, we hinted at it. That book is garbage.
A little bit.
Like it's the organization in the book. I try not to trash things, but just not for me, and not for I believe most. Like it's one of those. I feel like maybe they were writing to people that had never played RPGs, but even then, some of the formatting is just weird. And organization where we're bouncing back and forth between story and mechanics. Like we're telling people about Star Trek, and then we're telling people about the game, but it's like not in a well-ly presented way.
Okay.
So I don't know what you thought about it.
I can see
like I like the system.
Mean,
I'm not downplaying the system at all.
I'm all up in the Star Trek Kool-Aid, so it's like.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I love Star Trek too.
The only Star Trek Kool-Aid that I'm not drinking is Attack Wing.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm not. I mean, I bought the book.
You did buy the book, yep.
It's a pretty book. Like the artwork's
a very nice book.
Especially the deluxe edition that I got that has the Enterprise on the front instead of those three random guys that are like. Psh.
Yeah, the little away team going on there.
Yeah.
Also, doesn't hurt that our names are in the book.
That's true.
Like that's not
true. That was a little reason I was going to buy it anyways.
Of everything on your shelf, what else can you say that about?
Actually, I could say that about Harlem Unbound, and I can say that about Red Markets.
Okay. So, there's like 200 books on your shelf. So
Shut up.
3 out of 200.
Shut up. Anyways, but that's not what we came here to talk about. We are here, and I do have a question, by the way.
Okay.
We got sent a question to talk about.
Ooh, all right. What are we talking about?
It's talking about different types of initiative and what are our favorites.
Oh,
so
okay.
Get you thinking about that.
I already have the answer.
Well, yeah, but I want to go over kind of what different types there are for people that don't know.
And then
we'll talk about,
we'll go into the only one that matters.
It's a pretty simple. Like, I don't know I forgot what it was in Star Trek, but we'll get to that.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, but we're talking Unmasked. So Unmasked it was part of a Kickstarter that was done back in 2016, which was a trilogy of books for the Cypher system that gave it a whole bunch of new settings. First, which was Gods of the Fall, then Predation. This is the last one in the line that was funded there. It's Unmasked by Dennis Detweiler, produced by Monty Cook Games. And this takes the core rules of the Cypher system and puts a superhero horror-esque twist on them with a lot of 80s nostalgia in it. So it's got a default setting, which is the city in 1986.
It's a great year.
Huh? It was a great year. Where something happened, and just you're playing as a teenager, where you wake up one day and suddenly objects randomly have this kind of glow about them. And also you notice that certain people, specifically teenagers, also have this kind of glow, and you have this compulsion to put these random objects together into some sort of mask. And when you don the mask, it's kind of like a Jim Carrey The Mask kind of style, where you quickly changed into a superhero kind of thing. And it's almost like that personality's been there the whole time, and you're sharing a body now, sort of. Did you ever get around to actually reading the book?
I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I did not read the book.
Oh, my God. Why are we even doing this?
I had... How long did I have the book for?
2 weeks?
2 weeks, more than 2 weeks. I couldn't bring myself... I opened it, and I cracked through, and I was looking through, all the 80s kind of style in the artwork, and I'm like, yeah, that's really kind of cool. I don't really like playing Cypher system.
But granted, you've only played the Numenera.
I've played Numenera. I watched Cypher being played at the Instant Adventure.
Oh, that's right.
I like the crunchy rules. I like the D&D rules. I like the Star Wars rules.
Yeah.
I like the and like there are times when it's like, let's just sit back and tell a random story and like see what happens. But this is Cypher's maybe a little too abstract for me. Little too
I
on
like
the
to think
fly
of it as the middle because there's some
abstract.
crunch in there, as opposed to like some games like Fate where there's a lot of free forming.
Oh, Fate is
Stuff going on.
Fate is.
I've got better at doing it, but still, like I feel like this is a nice in between playing, Cypher in general. So, anyways, okay.
You read the book.
I read the book.
You read the book.
And I love.
I can comment on what you read about the book.
And you could talk about the presentation of the book.
Yes.
Which I think we need to start with there is that, as always, it's beautiful. Like, I don't know who it's awesome in that, like, compared to.
He says he doesn't know who. We can look that up.
I know, but I'm saying, like, I don't know whose job it is to do, like, I'm not talking like the graphic. I'm talking about like the production value, like not something that you get on a PDF, but like the way the gloss on the front and the way that the hardcover feels. This is why, like, I have to own physical copies of Monte Cook Game stuff because they just all have like
they do have, and
it's got like a deluxe feel to it.
They call it because it was the same with the Star Trek Deluxe book.
Mm-hmm.
They call it a UV coating.
Yeah.
So you've got like your plain matte. Here, I'm moving it out of the way.
Yeah.
You got your plain matte, sort of like basically everywhere except
but
for
it highlights
like
certain things.
this guy's
that are
gloves and the aura around his arms, the Cypher System symbol.
Yeah.
Like those are.
And typically, one of the things I like the most about Cypher games is the artwork. But I don't want to call it a complaint because it's awesome.
Okay.
But the style, like the artwork is great. But there is a style that they chose that they definitely bought in on the 80s preference.
Yeah.
And like you can see like the triangles and like the font.
Oh yeah, it's got that Saved by the Bell opening intro.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, there's a reason we left that in the 80s. Like, that's the one thing I don't like about it is how reminiscent it is of the 80s. But that's only but I appreciate that they went to form on it. But still, some of the artwork is still amazing, even without it.
Oh yeah.
This is the kind of stuff, like we were talking about Genesis last week, that I enjoy in these kind of things, and you just come to expect. Like, let me flip to the inside cover.
Yeah, I'm like,
it's of kids playing D&D.
Is that the opening to Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Like, is that what's going on there?
I mean, this is, and it's funny. Like, here's the Boundary Bay is the city that this is supposed to take place in. And he even says, like, it gives you a list of, like, here's things to be inspired by, and Stranger Things is on there. There's definitely references to Stranger Things a lot in the game.
Okay.
And, I mean, it's just one of those, it just kind of organically made sense as he was developing the game. And it even says you don't have to play this. You could play it in the future. You could play it in the past, the present, whatever. But this is just kind of like some rules oriented with it. Like, if you don't know regular Cypher, you're going to need the Cypher System rulebook. Mm-hmm. This kind of tweaks it and adds new abilities and powers and that sort of thing.
It's a source book.
It's a source book. Yeah, we are talking source book here. So I will say I love it, except for I'm a little burnt out on the 80s.
Okay.
So, and B, I'm not as tied to the 80s as a lot of people are, because I'm in that strange twinge where the 90s were my growing up time period. So, like, you got the people before us that are like, oh, yeah, the 80s.
Uh-huh.
Like, I was 4.
Yeah.
Or 3. Because when I was 4, it was in the 90s. Anyways, and then there's the people above us that are like, oh, everyone talks great about the 80s. So, so, like, I'm in that middle gap where I'm like,
I care, but I care, but I don't care.
Yeah.
But I do care.
Yeah.
But I don't care.
So I'm not as bought into the setting so much, but that's a me thing. That's not anything to do with this book. But I will tell you, like, as I read this nonstop, as I was reading these rules, I'm like, I could easily twist this and make this a Power Rangers game. No joke. With like minor tweaks. The only thing I think that's not in here that I'd have to figure out is how to do the Megazord rules.
Okay.
Like how to make that entertaining for a party.
Right.
Because it's like when you have an RPG where you're piloting a spaceship. Like it's always like two people are having the fun and everybody else is like, I'm working the engine.
Yeah, and that happens in that happens in Star Wars a lot. It's like I'm gonna go tweak a power converter and then you get a bonus to your next roll. All right, my turn's over.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas, but so other than that, because like there's even rules in here, like if you take too much damage and your health and stuff falls too low, the mask falls off. Which, as I was reading, that reminds me of in Power Rangers when like they've taken too much and they like fly backwards and they like demorph and stuff.
They power down.
Yeah. So yeah, that's like this is the whole time as I'm thinking about it. It's really funny because there's a whole chapter in here about what the 80s were like. Like this is the way like a town is, and this is the way like a city. These are popular places for kids to hang out. Like
the malt
you
shop.
could buy this. Yeah, this is like if you didn't know anything about the 80s, you could buy this book and run a game in the 80s.
There you go.
So I mean, I like the rules. I like the I don't know if I would play this as a campaign. I think this would be great for one-shots.
Okay, yep.
I don't know. Like, I'm running we're going to start a superhero Cypher game in a few weeks. We already made characters, but this is not using Unmasked, mainly because I wanted to try without. I want to... So this is something because of all the rules, I want to... They will come out with some awesome... adventure stuff using this probably around Gen Con time.
Oh, cool.
I want to run some stuff through there, see how I feel about it, and then kind of make a better opinion about the full rule set. Like, does it get me wanting to play a campaign of it versus like how much more does this make me want to do it versus just making a superheroes game out of the Cypher rule book?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So do I do that, or do I want to run it in this setting with this kind of thing? Because there's some like, it takes that kind of, if you're wanting like a superheroes and a Stranger Things thing, but like at the same time, there's a thing where it's like the masks don't want to be revealed themselves to strangers. So there's a little bit of like when you look at the campaigns, there's like, oh, I'm a super. I can see that you're a super as well because you've got this glow around you. And you're maybe using this to do some bad things, and I have to stop you, but I don't want to be revealed to police or the military might show up. And there's like that aspect of it, like think like your classic 80s tropes.
Yeah,
where I don't. It comes more. It's a limitation on me as a GM. Like I don't know if I could run that very well.
Okay,
like it's not a. The book does what it wants to do well, I think. But I feel like I need some help running this.
I gotcha.
And that's a me thing. Like I feel like someone that grew up in the 80s, that grew up watching the Goonies and Stranger Things and all these other things, they probably completely understand and could do it.
Yeah, okay. I can see that, yeah.
But me personally, I'm going to need like an adventure to just kind of like give me more of the possibilities because I'm just kind of limited right now. Mainly because I think I watch a lot of DC superhero shows on CW, so I'm all locked into like modern day thinking for superheroes, and I think that's where the catch is I just that when I think superheroes, I think modern day, so that's just a limitation on me. So all in all, if you like Cypher System, you're gonna want this book regardless because it's beautiful, and if you're, but obviously it was not worth For you, it was not intriguing enough.
Over 2 weeks too. Like
it was not intriguing enough for you to actually open it and read it.
Not to. I looked at the pictures.
You looked at the pictures. They're pretty.
They're pretty pictures. That was.
You're killing me here, Pete.
And that's just me.
I read the Star Trek book for you.
I read the Star Trek book for me.
Although I don't know what I expecting you to do work on this show.
And then, because even I was like, man, I'm going to come in here and I'll be like, yeah, Chris, I didn't read this book. And then Chris is going to be like, but you read Genesis. And I was like, okay, yeah, I read Genesis. But I didn't really read Genesis because it was exactly like Star Wars.
Yeah. Although I have to say, it is getting, like, this book not so much because it's a source book, but it is getting to the point where I can like skim a book and get the feel of it, because it's like, okay, this is how we play RPGs. I can skip that.
Yeah.
You know, like the lists of powers and stuff. I can kind of like get an idea of it. I don't need a detail read. You know what hover does versus torch, and you know, I can skip or skim through that.
Levels
I
of
could
exhaustion.
Just, I could read through the combat mechanics, because that's going to kind of be.
Yep.
Those
are kind of always important.
Character creation, I kind of read through to get an idea of. Like I'm reading Call of Cthulhu right now.
Okay.
Like I'm kind of reading it, but it's one of those I need to step through and work this. So I'm just getting an idea of how the flow goes and that sort of thing, and then some of the base mechanics and stuff, and then like setting stuff is you kind of that you need a detail read to get a feel for the game, but. Especially like also the GM running a session.
Yeah, those are actually.
I can kind of skim through those too, because a lot of it is going to be similar between whatever book you read, and B, until I sit down to do an adventure, I don't care.
Yeah, those aren't.
Like I don't need to know. I don't care as much about this is how you need to do this because me reading it's not going to make any sense until I do some application.
You need you need the application part to. Oh,
yeah,
exactly. That's why the comma's there. Okay, gotcha. I yeah.
So there we go. So that is, I believe it retails for $40, Unmasked. I recommend it. Philip doesn't, but that's because he's not a Cypher fan. I feel like we just need to get you in the right Cypher game.
That could be.
Like, I feel like if you had played the Cypher game that me and Randy played in, where we were like military people, like Last Ship kind of thing, I think you would have gotten a kick out of that.
Okay.
So maybe we have to come back to that at some point. All right.
And that is like we did Numenera on the podcast, and I watched the Instant Adventure, and that is my
experience.
That's my experience with Monty Cook.
Yep. But I have to see. Yeah, I may have to do some research for you. Anyways, so like I mentioned earlier, we don't have any. Sadly, no unboxing this week. I was hoping to maybe get something we can unbox, but nothing. I need to do some more. We need to get some more stuff. So if you're watching this and you produce any sort of RPG content or dice, or I want to get to the point we can do dice or dice type accessories, we'll show them off here on the show. But
we'll give you a review too.
Yeah. We have a question this week.
All right.
And that was what is our favorite type of settling initiative? So for those that don't know, initiative is kind of how you keep track of who goes when in an RPG. And so just to run down kind of off the top of the head the types that we could think of. First of all, there's D&D.
D&D
which
initiative.
is just everybody rolls a dice. You add some number to it. You line up the numbers, and that's the order you're going in, typically top down. So, it's like if you roll high, you're going first, and somewhere in there, the GM, DM rolls for the monsters and puts them in that order, too. Typically, you don't know.
Nope.
Then there's Star Wars Edge of the Empire, which is you roll for slots, which is very similar in that you're rolling dice and seeing who has the most.
You roll die, and you want high combination of. Well, you're only rolling positive symbols, so you want high combination of rolls.
Yeah.
And then that gives you...
Whether it just basically creates an outline of, okay, a player goes here, an enemy goes here, player, enemy, and during the round, you can choose, I'm going to take this slot to do an action.
Yep.
And then when everybody's done something, you reset back to the top.
Reset back to 1, yeah. Which is really... amazing for setting up combos.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm a really short, light character. You're a really big, strong character. I need you to pick me up and throw me. And you're like, all right, we're going to do that. We're taking the first 2 slots. I do a strength check. I succeed. Good. I'm flying through the air. I aim and I shoot people.
Yeah.
From the air.
So how does Star Trek do it? Because I forgot.
I forgot too.
Well, I do know Cypher System, the way it works is you've got your monster is always your middle track. The monster's got a level, and then you roll basically a difficulty check. And if you're above that number, you go before the monster. If you're below that number, you go below or after the monster. So it's kind of like it's a median of both worlds ish.
Yeah.
At least the way that I play it, because you can have that unlucky die roll, which means you're going last. But you can also have that free flow of I went first this time because I really needed to do this thing, but now I don't necessarily need to go first, so I'll go second. I'll still go before the monster because that's where I was. But then somebody else can, if somebody else really needs to go first, they can go first, kind of thing.
What else have we done? We've done Feng Shui.
Feng Shui, which
really
Feng
weird
Shui was
initiative.
a weird, but that was in the whole game style was unique in that there was a map basically that had a timeline on it, and you basically rolled to set up where you started at. And depending on what kind of action you did, determined how far down the track you moved.
Yeah, it cost you initiative
so
points.
if you didn't do, whenever, but the benefit is you could do multiple things in a round.
Yeah.
Especially depending on if the things you did, like a standard action was like 3 shots. So if you started off with like a 12, then you could get 4 standard kind of actions before the round resets.
And some depending on your role and your combination of modifiers and everything, you could go twice before the enemy did.
Yeah,
and like really hurt him and not even give him a chance to.
Which also allows for some of that strategic planning of combos of like, okay, I know the bad guy's going to go here. This is where you get into metagaming and less on the story.
Yeah.
But know the enemy's going to go here, and so I could do this, this, and this, and have another action before that enemy goes. Then you've also got, and a lot of narrative games will kind of do this, like Phoenix Dawn Command, where the GM starts off where you've got basically like the torch kind of thing, where it's okay, I'm gonna I want this person to go, and then they've got the torch. It's my initiative, and then when I'm done, I choose whoever's the next person is going to be. They choose whoever's going to go after them, and then depending on the game, either at some point you need to clue in give it back to the GM so that the bad guys can go in, or then the bad guy's going to go at the end, and then maybe the GM hangs on to it and they go twice or something.
Yeah.
That seems to be a lot of a very, depending on your narrative style, seems to be that thing where it's like, okay, I go, now I'm going to choose who's going next, kind of thing.
Like Pokemon.
Like Pokemon?
I choose you.
Oh. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, looking at the shelf over there.
Yeah, I'm looking at the shelf to try and think of other. That is all the stuff I can think of right now, because those are your types, and usually everything's a little bit of a combination of one of those.
Combination and variation.
Yeah, like Call of Cthulhu is very similar to like the except for it's reverse. Like you want to roll low instead of rolling high, because you're using percentile dice. So if you roll high, you're going last, and if you roll low, you're going first, kind of thing.
Warhammer.
Yeah, Warhammer.
And because I was in that
Heresy.
game, I was in that game, and I honestly completely forget how initiative was run.
I think it's similar to Call of Cthulhu, where it's where you want to roll low.
Yeah, because that was 2 years ago.
And then, so I think you spoiled it a little bit before. But what's your favorite type?
Favorite initiative is Star Wars, the Fantasy Flight role-playing Star Wars initiative system, and we've ported that into.
Yeah, we actually like our favorite is
D&D.
for D&D to use the, I like the rolling a straight because for initiative the using the different symbols on the Star Wars / Genesis dice is a little weird for like what does this mean initiative wise.
Yeah.
But having the straight D20 and then have that align your slots is what we do for D&D. I love it.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, because especially I play a rogue, which means like for some of my abilities, if I'm hidden in a way, I'm like, guys, let me go first because I could do like one massive attack and then the rest of my attacks are gonna be kind of so-so. Whereas, otherwise, you get that like once every few sessions, you might get a chance where that happens to work.
And that is I'm sorry, I just love your character.
Of course you do.
You've tweaked that character so much. You're standing in the middle. You're standing on the sun, brightly lit. Yeah, I hide. I succeed.
That was my I'm gonna try min-maxing a character. No, I did.
I am standing on Tiamat's nose right in front of her eye. I hide. You're
I've
hidden.
always, I've always
All right,
been
boom,
here.
There you go.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've always been here.
Stab. Where'd that come from?
Reminds me of the the tree would know better.
That's right.
It's like the thing. It's like the tree is like I hide.
Yes.
And it's like charm check. It's like I've been here all along. Well, the tree would know better than we would.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely the Star Wars is definitely the our favorite. I think we're in agreement on that one.
I don't know. Nah, we'll play the actual Star Trek Initiative for a couple sessions, and then maybe we'll all right, we're gonna Star Wars Initiative this because this sucks.
I don't know. For the podcast, we'll probably stick to the straight system because we're showing off how it plays. But so there you go. If you've got a question about RPGs, make sure you can send them to me on Twitter at ChrisLaProf, or you can email us Chris@ocdcast.com. And let us know what you want to hear us talk about here on Sword Play. This is like our Boards and Swords after show. We got to figure out what book we're gonna review next. Maybe something that you actually might want to read.
Something I'll crack up. Yeah.
So until then, in the meantime, I'm Chris.
I'm Philip.
And you've been watching Sword Play. I'm gonna stare at the camera for a little bit.
We gotta work on our logo.
What if this is just a mask? And now I am unmasked by like showing you the truth. Put it back on.
Dun dun dun. Do you have that?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, now you do. You can just clip that out.